Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Tonight, the search continues for the shooter who killed conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The 31-year-old Trump ally died yesterday after being shot while speaking to a crowd of thousands on a college campus in Utah. Today, the FBI released photos of a person of interest they're looking for, described as a college-aged man. Investigators say there is a video of the suspect on the roof where he fired from and then running away after the shooting. The FBI is offering a reward of up to $100,000 for information leading to the identification and the arrest of the person responsible. Charlie Kirk appeared at college campuses in San Diego twice in recent years. KPBS education reporter Katie Anastas spoke to students at San Diego State University who called his violent death shocking and disturbing.
Charlie Kirk toured college campuses across the country, inviting people to debate his conservative views. He was speaking at a university in Utah yesterday when he was shot and killed.
I was pretty shocked. I am by no means like a big fan of Charlie Kirk or in agreement, but I see him everywhere all the time. And now that he's gone, I think I appreciate more like the sense of like debate and refinement of ideas that he kind of brought, even if I disagree with them.
Kirk founded the conservative advocacy group Turning Point USA at age 18 and amassed a large social media following, especially among young people.
I love it.
Both San Diego State and UC San Diego have Turning Point USA chapters, and Kirk has appeared at both campuses. On Wednesday, Kirk's YouTube channel published a video from his appearance at UC San Diego in May.
Do you think there's anything wrong or troubling to the fact that a majority of people under the age of 30 here in this state speak Spanish, not English? Is there a problem with that?
Well, yeah, everyone should be able to have an ability to communicate with the rest of the crowd. So I don't know what the big issue of that.
See, I think it's a huge problem when we have a nation where you can't communicate with your fellow neighbor.
Simple solution. Teach them how to speak English. What is your point?
And our schools don't do that, actually. And also have a better solution. Yeah. Don't import a bunch of people that don't speak English.
You mean importing people who actually grow the economy?
Well, again, I reject your premise.
That's not a premise. That's a study that's been done.
Kirk also hosted a Prove Me Wrong event at San Diego State last year. In a statement, the president of SDSU's chapter wrote, quote, "As a chapter that hosted him a year and a half ago, we also feel for the Utah Valley University student leaders suffering after this horrific day." Kirk's assassination is the latest example of political violence in the U.S. The shooter's motive is still unknown. Gabriel Soberon Nelson is a graduate student at San Diego State. He says he doesn't want to become desensitized to gun violence.
It's very upsetting and disturbing, and I think it's an unfortunate political moment that we're having, influencers and politicians being injured or murdered. It's sad.
He says college campuses should be safe places for young people to discuss their views.
These places of community are places that depend upon us respecting and loving each other, even if they say awful things that really upset us.
San Diego State University President Adela De La Torre and Associated Students President Kareem Holstrom sent out a message to students and staff yesterday, saying that college campuses should be, quote, "a beacon of support for civil political discourse," and that, quote, "we cannot allow ourselves to become desensitized to acts of violence used in response to social and political disputes." The university says its police department develops safety and security plans before any on-campus event. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
The fatal shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk has reverberations for all Americans. KPBS's Public Matters investigative reporter Amitha Sharma joins me to talk about the impact of his killing. Welcome, Amitha.
Thank you, Maya.
Now, you have covered some of these political threats locally. Can you give us some examples of what you've covered?
Well, first, I do want to mention that for years, the FBI has warned that violent extremism from within poses one of the most persistent threats against the United States. Now, elected officials here in San Diego say threats against them have skyrocketed at the same time. Former Chula Vista Elementary School board member Kate Bishop told me a few years back that when she was on the board, someone called for her to be gutted and hanged. And there has been violence. A suspected arson attack in 2022 scorched the home of then San Diego County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher and his wife, former Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez. They are both Democrats.
That's truly terrifying. Can you give us some ideas why these escalations? What are some of the reasons behind them?
Well, to quote Utah Governor Spencer Cox after Kirk's death yesterday, he said, "Our nation is broken." And Maya, you and I both know we're more divided, more partisan. Our public discourse is more coarse. People have lost faith in institutions. But I did ask that very question to UC San Diego political science professor Barbara Walter a few years ago. She said that the election of President Trump in 2016 is a big reason for the escalation. She said Trump was the first president who described violence as a legitimate tool. And she said that the rhetoric tracks with the rise in other types of violent behavior and violent language. One of Trump's first moves after being sworn in this time around was to pardon 1,500 people who participated in the January 6th insurrection. Walter is also a big advocate of regulating social media algorithms that she says are designed to favor the most incendiary material intended to trigger fear, anger, and hate, because that is what our brains are designed to focus on more heavily.
Amitha, obviously we have yet to see what happens, but what do you see as the ramifications for something like this?
I think it's clear, that there will possibly be more of what we have already seen, which is dark. In 2022, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, was attacked in their San Francisco home, putting him in intensive care. There were 2 assassination attempts against Trump when he ran for re-election last year. A Minnesota Democratic lawmaker and her husband were killed in March. Her Democratic colleague and his wife were also shot. The home of Democratic Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro was firebombed in April, and there's no evidence that the heated political rhetoric has been dampened by Kirk's shooting. Some on the left cheered Kirk's death. Some on the right called for vengeance and retribution. In the past, Kirk himself has said that school shootings, are the price we pay for Second Amendment gun rights. He also called for a, quote, patriot to bail out Paul Pelosi's attacker. And then Wednesday, when he was shot, he was in the process of answering a question on trans shootings. And the massive question hanging over all of this is whether President Trump, who has already deployed troops to American cities, might use the shooting to crack down on civil rights.
Yeah, we have yet to see on that as well. Amitha, thank you so very much for your reporting on this topic. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, Maya.
Thank you. And for more of our coverage on democracy and politics, you can go to kpbs.org/public matters. And Public Matters is a partnership with KPBS, iNewsSource, and Voice of San Diego.
We're running cool out there. Temperatures for some 10 to 15 degrees cooler than the historical average here for mid-September in inland areas. Now, our temperatures don't fluctuate quite as significantly near the coast, but it is a cool one out there. We're going to continue to see this cool onshore flow continue through Friday. There are some big changes brewing, though, as we step into early next week before another opportunity for showers entering in the long-distant horizon for later next week. We'll talk about that in just a little bit.
The Metropolitan Transit System is facing a massive deficit in the coming years. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the agency's board today delayed a decision on what to do about it.
Ridership on MTS's bus and trolley lines has been growing steadily in recent years, but fare revenues and government subsidies haven't kept pace with rising costs. The agency is on track to run out of reserves roughly 3 years from now. MTS staff proposed a strategy Thursday that included an unspecified fare increase, which San Diego City Council member Sean Ela Rivera swiftly shot down.
We know very clearly that nearly 75% of MTS riders are considered low income. This is not the time to ask them to pay more until every alternative option has been explored.
The full price of a monthly MTS pass hasn't changed in 16 years. If it had been adjusted for inflation, the price would jump from its current $72 to $110. MTS staff were aiming for a much smaller increase. CEO Sharon Cooney says when they survey riders, most prefer fare increases to service cuts.
The vast majority of our riders are transit dependent, meaning that they won't get to their jobs or their school if they don't have their route. But if they have to pay, $5 more a month, they'd rather do that than not be able to access transit.
Once MTS runs out of reserves, it will have to cut its operating budget by almost 25%. That is, unless voters approve a tax increase to fund public transit. MTS aims to put such a measure on the ballot in 2028. Board members couldn't agree on a budget strategy on Thursday, so they decided to kick the conversation back to a committee for further discussion. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
After several weeks of rising COVID cases in San Diego County, numbers are starting to dwindle. The recent surge has prompted people to get vaccinated. But KPBS health reporter Heidi DeMarco says San Diegans trying to get a COVID vaccine now are running into obstacles.
Canceled appointments, insurance issues, even Medicare patients have had difficulty accessing COVID vaccines recently. The Centers for Disease Control's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices is scheduled to meet next week. The group, known as ACIP, helps set vaccine recommendations nationwide. Jacinda Abdul Mutakabir is a pharmacist who runs vaccine clinics in underserved areas. She says the delayed meeting is part of the problem for her patients.
They are unable to get vaccines through our clinic because the San Diego County needs an ACIP recommendation to be able to provide those vaccines to patients.
The county says it hasn't received doses of the new vaccine yet, but they are monitoring updates through the state. Abdul Mutakabir says clinic staff now have to pre-check insurance to avoid surprise bills. It's leaving some patients, like those on Medi-Cal and Medicare, in limbo.
Some plans do have stipulations where they require that ACIP recommendation for us to provide that vaccine and for people to be able to receive it free of charge.
Medicare says it covers the vaccine at no cost, but pharmacies and clinics are still updating billing systems, causing gaps in coverage. People under 65 without high-risk health conditions can't get the shot under the current guidelines unless their doctor steps in.
I am my patient's advocate. We want to do the best for our patient. And sometimes that means what's called prior authorization.
Davey Smith is an infectious disease doctor at UC San Diego Health. He says doctors can sometimes write a prescription and work with insurance to get the shot covered.
Sometimes what I have to do is go back to her insurance company and say, I really think she needs this because X, Y, and Z.
In California, CVS says patients can get the new vaccine with a prescription. The out-of-pocket cost is nearly $225. But until ACIP issues guidance, broader access is on hold. Hospitals are waiting too. Sharp Health and Kaiser say they'll move forward with administering the new shots once CDC guidance is finalized. Scripps expects the new vaccines this week, but says they won't give shots until the rules are clear. For now, experts say ask your doctor for a prescription, confirm coverage, or get other seasonal shots like flu and RSV.
I would say continue to mask, continue to keep that social distancing. I would say make sure that you're washing your hands, minimum of 20 seconds, soap and water.
Experts hope that once ACIP's recommendations are issued, access to the new boosters will open more widely across San Diego. Heidi DeMarco, KPBS News.
I'm Amna Navaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, the latest on the investigation into Charlie Kirk's murder. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
It's been 24 years since the tragic events of 9/11, and today in San Diego, first responders gathered aboard USS Midway Museum to pay tribute to fallen heroes. There were many speakers, including retired EMT David Blacksburg. He was one of the many who rushed to the World Trade Center after planes crashed into both towers. All these years later, he worries about his fellow Americans forgetting what happened that day.
I offer as often as I can to speak and to educate how important it is to remember that day, because I have a childhood friend who was in the Air Force and was sent overseas because of what happened. I also think it's not just never forget 9/11, but always remember 9/12 and how we came together and we were standing together as a united front against terror and others who want to defeat us.
Nearly 3,000 people lost their lives that day. Blacksburg says he and others who were there still stick together, united as a family, bound by a moment in time that we should never forget. Chula Vista is considering building a new park on the city's west side. As KPBS's Corey Suzuki reports, it would be the first in almost 20 years.
The lot is at the corner of Oxford and 4th in southwest Chula Vista. 4 years ago, it was an aging fire station slated for demolition. Now it's empty, except for an agave and a tilting eucalyptus tree.
You could have a shade structure, some picnic tables.
Frank Carson is the director of Chula Vista's Parks and Rec department. He envisions a vibrant half-acre park here with more trees, a playground, and a fenced-off section for people to take their dogs off leash.
Being that there's a large amount of multifamily housing units here without yard space, and this would be a much-needed outdoor space for them and their dogs to congregate.
Carson says this could be the city's first park here since 2006. West Chula Vista has less than a third of the park space per person than the newer, wealthier East Side. West Side neighborhoods are also more likely to be poorer and industrial, and more people identify as Latino. Jacob Healthman is an environmental researcher who lives in West Chula Vista and has analyzed the city's parkland disparities.
I felt positive. I felt like the city is paying attention to the community's needs.
Many residents are excited about the possibility. Oscar Rodriguez lives just a couple blocks away from the lot.
So it would be nice to relax, something like that, get away instead of going a block to another park or possibly long distance walking,
City officials are still in the process of getting feedback on the plan. They're planning to hold another neighborhood meeting next month. Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
And the story came from the iNewsSource Documenters program. Go to SanDiegoDocumenters.org for more information. We're bringing together reporters from KPBS, Voice of San Diego, and iNewsSource for a live Q&A on September 24th. And we want to hear your questions about housing, political participation, and the local impacts of federal policy. You can submit them at the link on your screen, kpbs.org/Democracy Day 2025. Recent fires in East County are a reminder that fire danger is a year-round concern here in San Diego, and because of that risk, home insurance hasn't been easy for some homeowners to keep. Some companies have stopped issuing policies or drastically increased rates. Californians can look at the California Fair Plan. It requires homeowners to show they've been turned down for traditional homeowners insurance. This type of policy does not include certain coverage, such as liability insurance. Global avocado production is up. The countries of Morocco, Brazil, and even Nigeria are trying to cash in on the demand for this beloved fruit. But here in San Diego County, long one of the largest producers of avocados in the world, fewer and fewer are being grown. KPBS's John Carroll reports why.
Fallbrook has been home to a robust avocado industry for decades.
I'm Jennifer Bantley. I am a 14-year avocado farmer. My husband and I run a 12-acre farm in Fallbrook.
Jennifer Bantley says she and her husband Kurt thought this farm was going to be a good investment.
But we learned that the trees were too tall, that we had to stump the trees and start all over again, which meant waiting 7 years for a full crop.
Bantley says that's when they realized Kurt would have to keep his job as a wireless engineer to afford farming. Avocado trees need a lot of water to stay healthy. An average avocado, just one piece of fruit, not a whole tree, takes 70 to 80 gallons of water to grow, and water is more expensive than ever. In 2019, the Bantleys paid $4.42 per 1,000 gallons. This year, the agricultural water rate in the Fallbrook Public Utility District is $5.83 per 1,000 gallons.
I already have had to cut down 180 trees just recently because I can't afford the water anymore.
And Bantley's not alone. Whether they were cut down or farmers just stopped watering them, data from the University of California shows total acreage of avocado trees in the county dropped from roughly 26,000 acres in 2008 to about 13,000 acres by last year. The report lists a variety of reasons why, including the spread of urban development.
It's really depressing. So I get really emotional about this because I'm so involved with my farm, and I am the one doing a lot of the work. I am the one pruning the trees. I am the one throwing the wood. I'm a 2-time cancer survivor, and I have a lot of years, my good years, that have been put into this.
And there's the problem of labor, hiring enough people to pick the fruit. Some farms qualify for the H-2A visa program that allows non-American citizens to work here legally.
If we wouldn't have these H-2A guys, this grove will not be picked by now.
Seraphin Michel is the farm manager at ACA Groves in Valley Center. He's worked here since he was a teenager, more than 50 years now. Michel says due to immigration crackdowns by the Trump administration, it's now more difficult than ever to hire workers.
A lot of my neighbors they dropping the fruit because there ain't no local workers. Most of the big ranches around this area is gone because of the water prices. It's killing us. The labor is killing us. The avocados from Mexico and Peru and all these other places, they ship in avocados to the United States, they drop our price down. We have no chance to survive. No chance. And now with the labor, it's even worse.
But qualifying for the H-2A visa program isn't easy. It involves a lot of factors and qualifications that some farms can't or won't meet. Beyond that, Bantley says simply hiring workers these days is getting tougher.
It's scary because we're having to be coached on what to do if immigration comes to your farm, and what do you say to them? And I'm like, really? Is this really happening?
For the Bantleys, it's all getting to be too much. They've entered into a county program called PACE, the Purchase of Agricultural Conservation Easement. It pays small farmers to permanently designate their property for agricultural use only, both to preserve farmland and to prevent suburban sprawl and the greenhouse gases that come along with it.
So I'll be allowed to build a house and an ADU and a farm or a winery, but I can't develop it. So that's going to limit my resale value.
The county has a goal of getting 443 acres set aside every year, and it says so far it has preserved more than 3,000 acres. John Carroll, KPBS News.
We've had some cool weather out there, and that's going to stick around through Friday. Temperatures are running 10 to 15 degrees below historical averages, at least for highs in inland areas. Now, the coastline moderates our climate a little bit more with the Pacific water, just keeping temperatures closer to average. We don't see the same temperature swings as much right along the coastline, but there will be a slow, gradual rebound over the next few days, and it will become less breezy as well. Tonight, we're on the road down to 66 under a partly cloudy sky. There will be some patchy fog that returns to coastal areas late at night, but we're going to continue to enjoy this cool down here for those of you, especially to the east into the deserts where it's often very hot. Not so hot out there. We're looking pretty good. The showers are staying away to the north and to the northeast. Many areas in other regions across the west are facing some thunderstorms, but we're not seeing that locally. Borrego Springs staying in the double digits, around 94 there. 62 up into Mount Laguna. We'll be in the mid-70s in San Diego on Friday. 79 El Cajon, 81 in Ramona. Pretty comfortable. I wanted to give us a little bit of a deeper look farther into the future, and we're going to scoot through Friday and Saturday, warming up a little bit for Sunday. Not many changes by then, but looking farther down the line, later next week, we're going to see a dry spell and then another opportunity for some showers and moisture to sneak in. So next Thursday, look at this. We may see a few more showers in the area. Won't be much, but there will be a better opportunity for moisture to roll back in with an expansion of showers, even a thunderstorm or two, potentially into the San Diego area later next week. So that's something to look forward to if you're looking for something a little bit wetter here. And that's also good to mitigate fire danger. Coastal areas, we're going to stay in the 70s, warming up a little bit into Monday and Tuesday for the most part. Into inland areas here, we see more of a resurgence of warmth for Monday and Tuesday before that opportunity for some showers rolls in. Mountains, here we're in the 60s, jumping back into the 70s by Tuesday. And into the deserts, here we are hedging back up to around 102. So it will get a little hotter early to midweek before the next cool down rolls in, with those spotty shower chances around beginning on Thursday. For AccuWeather, I'm Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
Look for tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.